Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees clinch the American League East. They lose the series. They lose the first two games, but it ends on a high note as they win. They salvage the series, but they got the job done as far as clinching the AL East over the Baltimore Orioles. And now the only job that remains in the final three games is securing that #1 spot in the American League, which I think holds value. I'm not sure the team's approach and feelings on it. They did ask Boone after the game, and it sounds like he's not going to go above and beyond, which, like, in some ways, like, it makes sense. But I hope they don't completely just like view it as nothing. And I don't think they will. I think that they understand the importance. And there's a few things in play. Really, for me, the main thing is I kind of would want to avoid the Astros until the ALCS if possible. And even though the Yankees haven't really been great at home this year, they've been better on the road. I still want to ideally have home field throughout the American League portion of the playoffs. So, look, the fact of the matter is, going into this series, the Yankees winning the division was a foregone conclusion. It took them till the third game to get it, but they do get it. The Yankees are 93 and 66. And look, I didn't think that they would win. I thought that the Orioles would win the division at a lot of different points in the season, going into the season. Baltimore really, whether it be, look, injuries play a part, no doubt, but the Orioles really kind of dropped the ball. But let's see who's going to be the last man standing still, because the Orioles, they went 8-5 against the Yankees this year. Like, if you're a Yankee fan and you want the easiest path, and sometimes that, be careful what you wish for. I say that a lot. Like, you never know. I would think that it'd be preferable for either the Tigers or Royals to beat Baltimore. And look, not to say, like, I think the Yankees could certainly beat Baltimore in a best-of-5 game series. It's not as if there's fear there, but I do think that who do you have a better chance of beating? I would probably say, even though the Tigers are on this kind of magical run, I would happen to think, based on just rosters, based on previous matchups, and Baltimore knows the Yankees really well. The Yankees know Baltimore well too, but the Orioles, they seem to match up pretty well. And maybe we can save this more for next episode, because that we'll know then what side of the bracket the Yankees will be on. This is me talking as if the Yankees will find a way to hold Cleveland off and get that first spot in the American League, and then therefore they would likely play Baltimore or one of Detroit or Kansas City. The American League outlook, we pretty much know the 6 teams. The Twins are going to be eliminated. The Mariners have officially been eliminated. The Twins are barely hanging on. They are going to be. It's a matter of when, not if. It's going to happen. And so the Tigers make this miraculous run, and the Twins just in complete free fall. Astros are locked into the 3 spot. Orioles are soon to be, they're not officially, but barring craziness, they will be the 4. And then it'll be between the Royals and Tigers for 5 and 6, and between the Yankees and Guardians for 1 and 2. So the Yankees right now, they're a game ahead of Cleveland with the tiebreaker. That's pretty big, the fact that they have that. So really, as long as Yankees win 2, like, let's just say, for example, if the Yankees win 2 of 3, it's done. The magic number is 2. Any combination of Yankee wins and Guardian losses that equal 2, and they're in. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, the Yankees can afford to lose 2 of 3 just as long as the Guardians don't sweep the Astros. I happen to think that Cleveland might. They're facing the Astros, but like I said, they have nothing to play for as far as upward mobility within the American League playoff standings. And for example, Yordan Alvarez, he is out for the weekend. He's injured. He did not travel with the team. And they might take a similar approach, like I think about Kyle Tucker. Now, on the one hand, you want to get him reps because he had been out for a while, but they might kind of play it a certain way without Jose Altuve, because with them, they don't have the luxury of having the bye. They will be playing that wild card series very shortly after they're done with the Cleveland series. So spending a lot of time on that, but I do think that it's important for the Yankees to secure that. So what I do kind of like if they do approach it this way is there is some meaning and legitimate meaning to this last series. Knowing the Yankees are gonna be off for Monday through Friday of next week, no games. I think it's good to play with a little bit of intensity. Hey, a little bit of juice with Paul Skeens coming to Yankee Stadium. And that's the thing too. That's going to be a tough game to win. I can't say I feel good about the Yankees winning that game against Skeens. And I think that matchup's actually Skeens versus Heel, which is kind of fun. Like if Heel's on his game, that could be a fun pitcher's duel. But yeah, also what I want to say right here at the top, Nestor Cortes goes in the IL. So this episode, I want it to be joyous because the Yankees won the American League East and they deserve, that credit and that praise. Nestor Cortes on the IL, that one kind of came out of nowhere. And he came so close to really a fully healthy season and he had been pitching so well. And I think he was in that discussion. If not top 3 in the rotation, top 4, maybe in the CS. But now Nestor, it's a flexor strain in his left arm. So, he got his elbow checked out. And yeah, not great. And I don't know if we're going to see him again. We don't know. Like, he's still holding out hope that he'll be back. We certainly won't see him in the DS. That would, to me, there's just no way. Unless things went amazingly well. But even then, I don't think it would happen. And so the earliest that we could realistically see him back is the CS. And even that, I think, might be a little bit on the optimistic side. To me, I think maybe World Series, like, if things go well. And, so time's going to be running out on Nestor. And that's too bad because I think he could have been very useful out of the pen, at least, if not more. Like, a lefty, which, those are tough to come by. And so Cortes is out of the mix. The good thing is you do have that starting pitching depth, but now that's innings that go elsewhere, right? And so Jake Cousins, I'm, hopeful that he'll be back for the playoffs, but we don't know that either. So Cousins on the shelf, Cortes on the shelf. They call up Cody Poteet. I think Cody Poteet, there's a chance that he could make the playoff roster. He actually looked pretty good. He came in game 2. The score was lopsided. He gave the Yankees like 3+ innings. I mean, Poteet's been pretty solid. And I think that he is deserving of getting in there. Marcus Stroman actually made the game 2 start. We'll talk about him. Not so great for Stroman. And then just one other transaction that's on the minor side. Mark Leiter Jr., who's actually kind of had a couple of good outings recently, goes in the paternity list. And Scott Effross is recalled. So maybe we'll see Effross a little bit in the Pirates series for as long as he's on the roster. So Orioles come to town, and they come in struggling, but they probably leave town feeling a little bit better about themselves. Game 3 was a bit ugly for them, although Corbin Burns pitched very well, and that's a very key thing for Baltimore. But the first game was a matchup. Actually, before I get there, let's discuss certain players, who did well. Aaron Judge, he's homered now in 5 straight games. So dating back to the second Oakland game, 5 straight games of homers. He's up to 58 homers and 144 RBIs. It would be awesome if you get to 60. I hope that Boone and company decide to go with the regular lineup for the first game against the Pirates. I don't know, the way that he was talking post-game, it has me a little bit concerned that they might go with more of like a bench, weird-looking lineup, but Judge is 2 homers away from 60 and 6 RBIs away from 150. So another sort of thing to look into to see if he can hopefully get. Giancarlo Stanton he's starting to heat up too at just the right time. He was the offensive star of Game 3. A game that, was very important to not get swept against Baltimore, to clinch against them, and to maintain that lead over Cleveland for the American League lead. Stanton, he's looking better. Although I will say, he actually did. He did have a golden sombrero, 4 strikeouts in Game 1. So it wasn't as if Stanton. There were struggles, but that's Stanton for you, right? One game it can be pretty ugly, and then he'll just shift it into high gear. And so, yeah, I would just say, he was looking better at the end of the Oakland series. Ultimately, I feel like he's been better lately. And so, Stan, I think he's at 27 homers. So, it's going to be tough, again, for the fact that these, I want Stan to reach 30 homers, but facing Skeens in game 2, like it wouldn't seem likely. The Judge thing is more likely. And that's the bigger one. Is him maybe hitting 60. Just 2 more homers he needs. He's on a hot streak. We'll see what happens. So just going through the lineup real quick, and then we'll get into the game by game. And please like and subscribe. Would be greatly appreciated. Gleyber Torres, he good. I would still say, look, good offensively. Game 1, 3 hits and looked really good, but an absolute inexcusable, classic Gleyber, boneheaded base running miscue. That was kind of sort of like the highlight of the game and sort of turned momentum. The Yankees had the momentum and then it flipped on. We'll talk about the play. Happened in the 7th inning. So Gleyber, you're going to get that. And that's the problem. The low IQ, and maybe that's not the right way to phrase it, but again, the base running, the defense, and the defense has been like okay lately, but it can rear its ugly head at any point. But look, ultimately, he's been the leadoff hitter, and deservedly so. So it was actually a really good offensive game from Gleyber in game 1. He was really the best one. He had 3 hits, but it's kind of overshadowed by just real bad defense. Juan Soto, pretty good for Soto, homered in game 2. I think his best offensive game was probably game 2, but it feels like Soto, let's see, actually. Soto, let's see some like recent logs, recent splits. Soto's been pretty good of late. He had been kind of, Soto's always good for walks and getting on base. That's the great thing about him. Even when he's at his worst, he's going to give you that 360, 370 on base clip. But the batting average was sitting in the, in terms of the last 15 games, last 30 games, in like the 240s. But lately he's been a bit better in terms of, the batting average. But yeah, so Soto. The thing with him is, the best thing about him is there isn't another player I want more than him in a big spot. And that's no slight to Aaron Judge. But Soto, if you're telling me it's 8th inning, 9th inning, and I need someone to do something, it would be Soto that I'm looking to. Aaron Judge, I already discussed him just on a just vintage Judge heater. Austin Wells has been struggling. Really has been. And they're riding it out with him in the cleanup spot. I'm fine with it, but we need to acknowledge that Wells it's been rough. It's been rough, and he'll still work his walks a little bit, but the batting average is in the low 230s now. The OPS is probably in like the 720s, 730, probably 720s. And so, look, he's clean up for now, but it would be fair. The problem is there's no one else that really deserves being brought up as well, because like Jazz Chisholm, for example, he himself, not the best. He's been cold. So going to need those guys to come through and get the bad stuff out of their system now. But as someone who's an Austin Wells fan, he hasn't been good. It's been a really tough go for him. Chisholm as well. And defensively, on the Chisholm front, with him, you get a lot of good plays, but also, look, it's growing pains at third, but you need him to do well there. So it's a little scary. He's competent and makes the great play, but Rizzo has saved him. A lot of good scoops by Anthony Rizzo at first. Segueing into Rizzo actually did have a pretty decent offensive series, all things considered, but with him, there's no power. There is no power at all. Yeah, he hasn't homered since he's been back. I'm pretty sure he hasn't. But hey, you know what? We won't go there because Rizzo, again, pretty good offensive series from Anthony. Let's see. Anthony Volpe. Volpe is Volpe. The offense has been rough, but nothing's really going to change. He's going to get the starts. But the interesting thing is that he is getting pinch hit for late in games. So we saw that in the Seattle series. We saw it again in this series. He is getting pinch hit for. And then it's the Verdugo Dominguez thing. And you could go either way with it. You really could. As much as I would want it to be Dominguez, I acknowledge that Jason Dominguez's defense left field is problematic. It is. And so that's one of the unknowns. Who will be that game 1 left field starter? I can't say I know for sure. I thought it would be Dominguez. Part of me still thinks it will be. But it might just be Verdugo based on that defense. So in that case, Verdugo, he would be a defensive replacement for Dominguez if he starts. On the flip side, I could see Dominguez being a pinch hitter or even a pinch runner in a certain spot, in his case, if he's on the bench. So we'll see. As far as some of the bench guys, is Waldo. I continue to wish Waldo got more playing time. It's not going to happen, but I really do wish that Waldo played more, but it is what it is. And look, like, you're not seeing much of Trevino, and there's no surprise there. You're not really seeing basically any Grisham. John Birdie is a pinch runner exclusively. And yeah, so that's pretty much the bench outlook. And we'll see again. We'll have a deeper discussion after next episode as far as how I think the playoff roster will look. But I'm also probably going to do like a series preview as well for the ALDS, and where we can kind of go into that more so. But actually, we'll see, because I'm thinking because they don't announce those rosters until like very close to the start of the series. So we may have to do some predictions in that one is probably what we'll do, which will be pretty fun. But yeah, game one, Clark Schmidt on the mound for the Yankees. And for Clark, like, he looked pretty good. It wasn't the final line isn't amazing, but Clark is always going to keep you in it. And look, I think right now, Luis Hill is number 3. And with Cortes out, it does make these decisions somewhat easier, but Schmidt is still in that conversation. And obviously, when it comes to the top 4, clearly Schmidt is in there. It's really just a matter of who's 3. Look, if they announced that it was Clark Schmidt, I have no problem with that. I'm a big Clark Schmidt fan. Luis Hill's command, he can lose at any point. But I don't know, just the way that Jack Curry speaks, the way that it feels like Hill's probably the number 3 starter. Clark Schmidt loses, drops to 5-5. He goes 5 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. And for the Orioles, Dean Kramer, who it felt like the Yankees just weren't able to really get it done versus Kramer. 8-10 record after that win for Dean. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. And the Orioles, a lot of mixing and matching by Brandon Hyde. We saw overall, including Kramer, 7 pitchers for Baltimore. So Baltimore actually takes the lead in this one. In the second inning, it would be a 1-out single by Jordan Westberg, a ground rule double by Ryan O'Hearn, and an RBI ground out by Kierstad. So the Orioles take a 1-0 lead, and then in the fourth, they would score another. And this would be, unfortunately, a wild pitch that hurts Clark Schmidt. It moves Santander over to second with 2 outs, and Ryan O'Hearn gets an RBI single to give the Orioles a 2-0 lead. But then it's Aaron Judge. The one mistake that Dean Kramer makes is a homer. And at that time, it's Judge's 56th homer of the season to cut the Oriole lead back to 1. So it's 2-1 Orioles at this point. And let's go to the 5th, actually. Verdugo, first and second no out after a couple of walks, double play. So for Verdugo, even though he does homer in game 3, his offense has just been really bad. And I don't think it's really going to turn. He'll make contact, but it leads to a lot of double plays and just a lot of soft contact. So yeah, double play for Verdugo there. And then in the 6th inning, Anthony Santander off the Schmidt home run, 44th homer of the year, which is very impressive. The fact that Santander has turned into a player who hits 44 home runs in a season off of the foul pole in right field. Gives the Orioles a 3-1 lead. Then the Orioles would score again in the 7th. This would be a home run off of Tim Meza. So they probably overextended. Meza had pitched the 6th. They probably overextended him just a little bit. And Ramon Urias hits his 11th homer of the year, makes it 4-1. Then we go to the 8th. Sorry. The bottom of the 7th. How can I skip that? You get a 1-out ground rule double by Rizzo down the left field line off of Cionel Perez, the lefty, and then kind of a fortunate infield single by Verdugo. So now set the stage. First and third, 2-out, 4-1 game. Yennier Cano, the righty, comes in, and Gleyber Torres, ground rule double, opposite field, makes it 4-2. Then Juan Soto. He gets a single to right fielder Santander. 1 run scores, but Rojas holds Gleyber. And that was somewhat questionable. Santander has a good arm, but the throw was kind of offline. So that's the first thing. They hold him. Judge is on deck, and they probably would have walked Judge, but that's here nor there. Then things start getting weird. Soto, who it hasn't been spoken about a lot, but his base running is aggressive, borderline reckless at times, and he tries to go to second. He would have been safe, but that kind of was unnecessary, especially with Judge on deck. Then they would just automatically walk Judge with second and third. But Glaber really ends up fucking up even more so. Glaber gets off third base once Soto goes to second and gets caught in like a pseudo rundown. It was bad. It was really bad by Glaber. You can't do that. Either you got to stay at third or you got to dash home. But he was right near third base when it happened. You just got to stay. You just got to stay and let Soto, let that fate be what that fate is. You know, and there's nothing that you could, because Boom is saying, oh, Glaber was trying to protect Soto. I don't buy that. It's just Glaber was trying to make something happen that just wasn't there. So it remains 4-3. And then Ian Hamilton comes in. And Hamilton, who had been pitching really well, a couple of iffy spots, you know, nothing like alarming, but that last game against Oakland, and then here, Colton Cowser, who I guess is the front runner for American League Rookie of the Year. I think Luis Gil should be the Rookie of the Year over Cowser. But Cowser hits his 23rd homer off of Hamilton, makes it 5-3. And in the ninth, it gets a little interesting. Rizzo with a one-out walk against Gregory Soto. They bring on Sir Anthony Dominguez and Jason Dominguez. Pinch hits for Volpe. He grounds out, and then Verdugo flies out. Orioles win game one by a final score of 5-3. Let's go to game two. Game two is where you find out that Nestor Cortes, day of, like, he's going on the IL. And that's, again, really sad. And I hope that he makes his way back. They bring Cody Botita onto the roster, and Marcus Stroman makes a start. So Stroman hadn't made a start in a few weeks. His last appearance had probably been a week prior or so in Seattle, where he had that 3-inning outing, where he got that save in a blowout. So to be fair to Stroman, and he didn't use it as an excuse, he really hasn't been pitching much lately. He's certainly way off schedule. And it was a rough outing for Marcus Stroman. So Stroman, I think he makes the playoff roster, but I don't see him really having much of an important role, just kind of eating innings if games are blowouts. So that loss brings him to 10-9. 3 1/3 innings, 10 hits, 6 runs, no walks, and 1 strikeout. ERA ends up at 4.31. So the numbers end up being pretty ugly. 4.31 isn't ugly, but what's the final whip? I think it was really fucking bad. 1.47. Yeah, I mean, and you got 2 more years of Stroman. So, look, he's an innings eater if nothing else, but I don't know. That's a conversation for the offseason, but Stroman, I think he's probably going to be on the team next year, but, you know, he's definitely like a 5th type starter. No question about that. So, yeah, I wonder what they're going to do with that, because really, like, Cortes is still under contract for 1 more year. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So game 2, game 1 you had Verdugo starting. Game 2, it would be Dominguez starting in left, and as it was, Dominguez started game 3 as well. So again, Dominguez probably still has that leg up, but Verdugo in game 3, comes into the game as a defense replacement and actually homers. But anyway, game 2, it starts out ugly. The first inning was really, really brutal. Let's just jump to bases loaded, no out for Colton Cowser. He hits what should have been a sac fly. Left field corner. And Yankee Stadium left field isn't easy. But a fly ball that should have been caught, and Dominguez just completely misses it. And he looks lost out there. It is not good. This is someone that's a center fielder by trade. It's not easy. You go from center field to a corner outfield position. It's different. And so 2 runs score. They actually do get an out on the play. Bad base running by Santander, I guess. And so that makes it 2-0. And then Ryan Mountcastle, RBI single off of Marcus Stroman, makes it 3-0. So Stroman, in some ways, deserved a better fate. But that's the thing. The Yankees don't have great defense. And that could be a problem in the postseason. And for a pitcher like Stroman, who depends on contact, not really a recipe for success. Bottom of the second, 3-0 game. Yankees do score a run. It's Anthony Volpe off of Zach Eflin. So, Stroman, it was an ugly, like I said, ugly line for Zach Eflin. He actually doesn't get the win. Because he only went 4 2/3 innings. 4 hits, 3 runs, 5 walks, and 1 strikeout. So Eflin, who used to do well against the Yankees this year, whether it be with Tampa or Baltimore, Yankees are starting to figure him out a little bit. And Eflin's been pretty good since he was acquired by the Orioles. But yeah, not a great outing for him, but he was able to kind of limit the damage. Volpe gets an RBI single in the second, and then in the fourth, it unravels as you get a 2-run single by Gunnar Henderson to make it 5-1. Stroman's day is done. Clayton Beeter comes on. So Beeter, who he had been called up when the Yankees placed Jake Cousins on the IL. Beeter, not a great outing for him. Anthony Santander RBI double on a play that Soto could have made, but Soto's not a great right fielder. Goes off, it kind of skims off his glove, and Santander makes it 6-1. And then Colton Cowser, he gets an RBI double that makes it 7-1. So Beeter hit relatively hard, then add on a James McCann RBI single in the fifth to make it 8-1, and then Cody Poteet comes on in the bottom of the fifth. 2-run homer for Juan Soto. Eventually, Eflin is out of the game. Chisholm Jr. flies out with the bases loaded. So a spot for the Yankees to make it a little bit closer doesn't happen. And again, for Jazz, he's definitely been pretty cold now. So then in the eighth, Poteet does give up a run, an RBI single by Jordan Westburg, but really a good outing for Poteet. He ends up going 3 1/3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Like he's been quality. And so I think with this recent Cortes injury, I think you have to consider Poteet on the roster. And if it were me, I'd rather Poteet on there than Stroman. I don't know that they'll do that though. So the score at this point is 9-3. Mark Leiter Jr., before going on the paternity leave, strikes out the side of the ninth. So for Leiter Jr., who is another one of those bubble roster guys, he's been, again, last 2 outings have been pretty good. Bottom of the ninth, Matt Bowman comes on. You may remember Matt Bowman from last season when he was on the Yankees that last month of the year, where things were pretty ugly for that Yankee roster. But Bowman, who's a bit of a journeyman, struggles in this one to the point where they would have to bring on Keegan Aiken to finish it out. You get an RBI single by Soto and then a 3-run homer by Judge. So Judge's 57th homer of the year cuts it to 9-7. But then Keegan Aiken, the lefty, comes on to get Austin Wells and Giancarlo Stanton, and the Orioles win by a score of 9-7. They win the series, and now they go for the sweep. They don't get it, though. It's Corbin Burnes versus Gerrit Cole, and what a nice ad. I mean, both of them were really good, but Gerrit Cole, 6 2/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. The win improves his record to 8-5. A trying year for Cole, right, from a health perspective. Just some rough moments as well, too. Versus the Mets comes to mind, the Rafael Devers situation. But look, I think he's feeling pretty good going into October, and that's so big for the Yankees. Corbin Burnes was really good, and he only went 5 innings, which was a real big thing for the Yankees. 5 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. And he only threw 69 pitches. So I think for them, the loss brings Burnes to 15-9. I think with the Orioles, getting ready for the wild card series shortly, they just took a cautious route. Because here's the thing, Orioles, even if the Orioles won tonight, they weren't going to win the AL East. It just wasn't going to happen. So kind of makes sense in that way. But anyway, like I said, Dominguez gets that start in this one. And Giancarlo Stanton is the one to get the Yankees on the board. And Stanton, say what you will, he has an knack for the big moment. And tonight kind of qualified as that. 27th homer for Giancarlo makes it 1-0. And the score remained 1-0 for a long time until they took Corbin Burnes out in the bottom of the sixth, to where the Yankees really got it going. Yennier Cano, the righty, comes in. It's a 1-out walk for Glaber, single for Soto, walk for Judge, and they bring on the lefty Cionel Perez, who walks Austin Wells. So despite the fact that Wells has really been not good lately, he does walk there with the bases loaded, and the big hit, a bases-clearing double by Giancarlo Stanton, makes it 5-0. Then later on, Brian Baker comes on, and with 2 out, second and third, Anthony Rizzo with a 2-run single. So like I had said, Rizzo, pretty nice series offensively for him, makes it 7-0. Verdugo comes in for defense in the 7th inning for Dominguez, and we're going to see that. That is Alex Verdugo's role for sure. When he's not starting, he will come in for Dominguez in left. And it's just so ironic. The whole Trent Grisham thing is ironic because, Grisham is this Gold Glove center fielder, but, circumstances dictate that, he doesn't really have a role. It's kind of odd, but anyway. Tommy Kahnle gets the last out of the seventh as they take Cole out, who leaves to a standing ovation. Bottom of the seventh, Aaron Judge at it again. A home run in 5 straight games. His 58th homer of the season. A 2-run shot, I believe, off of Baker as well. I think it was off of Baker. No, this was off of Bowman, actually. Oh, no, was it off of Bowman? Let's see. No, it was off of Baker. It was off of Baker. So, anyway, that makes it 9-0 Yankees at that point. Tommy Kahnle pitches part of the 8th, and then Clay Holmes pitches the rest of the 8th. And then Alex Verdugo homers off of Matt Bowman. So, Bowman, a rough go for him in those games. But Verdugo's 13th homer of the year. Good to see. What does it mean? I don't know. But 10-0 Yanks. And then, unfortunately, the shutout is not able to be had. And Tim Hill was just unlucky. It was just like infield singles and just, perfect placement by Baltimore. Emmanuel Rivera gets a sac fly, makes it 10-1. But the Yankees are able to wrap it up, win 10-1, clinch the AL East against Baltimore, ironically, which is nice to do. And so now the Yankees are 93-66 and 1 series to go against the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that's not going to make the playoffs. The pitching matchups are as follows. Jared Jones, a young, promising starter for the Pirates versus Carlos Rodon. Game 2 is the most exciting one because it's got Paul Skeens against Luis Gil. So Skeens is going to be electric. I hope the Yankees can find a way to do something there. And then the final game will be lefty Bailey Falter against Clark Schmidt. So pretty normal starting procedures considering the last week of the season, but it's that race with the Cleveland Guardians for the number 1 spot in the American League that we'll be focusing on. And just as long as the Yankees, if they win 2 out of 3 against the Pirates, then they secure that. And, so I think that ultimately they'll get it. Even if they're not going full out for, I think that they still will, but it's far from a guarantee. But, as far as steps, clinching a playoff berth, clinching the AL East. They're not going to celebrate this next one, but getting that number 1 spot in the American League is the next goal. And we will talk about all of that on the next episode as the Yankees will conclude their season with a 3-game set against the Pittsburgh Pirates.